What's up, guys? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pass the Mic. We had a week off last week because we were all sick or engaged in something else. I don't know what JP had going on.
I had a paper due at 11:59.
Oh, my God. So we weren't here last week, but we are here this week. Carl's showing off his Broncos hat, even though they had a crushing loss this week.
All right.
Here again, talk sports. We are not talking politics. That was another reason I didn't want to do it last week. Did not want to talk politics. It's already here everywhere on Facebook, everywhere on TV. You know, just relax. We have sports, so we don't have to talk about politics.
Amen.
Okay? Plus, our guy lost, so we don't want to talk about it. What I do want to talk about is finally, I don't know if it's good, but it can't be bad. The Mets have a new owner. Finally, the Mets have a new owner.
Orange smoke. Orange smoke came out of Citi Field like the Pope.
Steve Cohen, right now, the day he was approved, is the richest owner in baseball. One of the richest owners in all of sports. There's probably, who's the guy that owns the Clippers? He's probably richer.
In American sports, you have to clarify.
Yeah, American sports. Thank you. But he's the richest owner in baseball. His press conference was perfect. What he's saying is perfect. The moves he made day one are perfect. Bringing back Sandy Alderson was a genius move. Genius move. And what Sandy Alderson said coming in was just telling. It was what we all thought all along, which is the Wilpons were the cheapest owners in baseball, maybe in all of sports. They had no money because of the Bernie Madoff scandal. They lost all their money. The baseball team was supposed to pay for itself, and that's not how it works. You don't make money on baseball. You can, if you get to the level where you're putting enough in, you can, but they weren't doing that. They were cutting corners at every aspect. When they hired him, they didn't even tell them that they had money issues. They lied to him. They said they had money. When he got in there,
was that right after Bernie Madoff?
What's that?
Well, didn't they hire him right after Madoff? Like everything they found out how bad the Mets were getting involved with Madoff?
Madoff was 2008, and he was hired, I think, in 2013.
Oh, I thought he was hired earlier than that.
No, he was hired. But even if it was right after, they knew how much money they lost, and they still just lied to everyone about it. He went to a GM meeting a couple of years ago, and he said, I remember listening to him on the radio. He said, I showed up with a briefcase full of cash. And then he says it was all fives. They had no money. What Steve Cohen said was great. He said, we're not going to spend like drunken sailors, but we're going to go out and get the guys we want to get. And Sandy Alderson said the same thing. It's no longer going to be, who could we get at this price? It's let's get the guy. And be smart about it. You're not going to hand out $300 million contracts to everybody. But if you have needs, you're going to fill them. And Steve Cohen, they kept asking him. He kept bringing up what team he wanted to be like. And it wasn't the Yankees. Because nobody's like the Yankees. The Yankees have built this over 25 years, 30 years. It's not the Yankees. It's the Dodgers who have done it quick. Dodgers just got sold, like 7, 8 years ago when Magic Johnson was in the group. And look what they built. A consistent winner now. They go out, they get the players they need to get. They have a team that wins the division every year, and they go out and get Mookie Betts. That's what the Mets have to become. It's the biggest market. And Alderson already said he's gotten calls from agents since the day the sale went through saying, my player wants to play for you. So it's going to be completely different. The whole outlook, the whole way the team's made up, the whole, how aggressive they are, and how they could fill in for mistakes. That's the biggest thing that people don't realize, what the Yankees do, what the Red Sox did, what the Dodgers did. It's not putting, a $180 million team on the field. That anybody could do that for 1 year. And the Mets have done that. They didn't go that high, but they, say they put 150. What the Mets don't do is when their third baseman goes out for the season, they don't go out and get another guy. They count his salary. When David Wright was hurt for 5 years, they were counting his salary as salary. And you can't do that in baseball. You can't. You have to be able to replace your players. You have to be able to go out and get players. Now, you can't just buy a team because it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. What the Mets have right now is they have a fantastic base of position players, and they have the best pitcher in baseball. What they need is they need a few more starting pitchers. They need relievers and 1 or 2 guys. Springer, Real Muto, guys like that. You throw them in there, and they're a winner next year. Not World Series maybe, but they're a winning team next year. You go out, you get Bauer, you sign Stroman again, you get a bunch of arms in the bullpen, and right away they're good. Right away they're good. What do you guys think? Carl, you go first since you're the Met fan.
Well, this is probably one of the happiest times in the Mets baseball in a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. We always cheer on the Mets, and we win the Cy Youngs with our pitchers. We made it to World Series, we lost, and for the last handful of years, we know the Wilpons were nothing but cheap garbage, and they lost it. It's about time that we could say we have somebody owning a team that is a multi-billionaire. He's up there.
$14 billion.
And he says his remarks is money's not the issue. It's team is the issue. Like you said, they want to get a team that's going to play. And you nailed it about different positions and everything like that. But what the Dodgers did and Red Sox did and the Yankees did, when the injury happens, the next person steps up that is unbelievable. Like the Dodgers. You got Jock Peterson on the bench. He's one of the better players in a Major League Baseball that you don't see, but he's going to be the biggest contract this coming year. And he was a bench. He came in at DH. That's what we need, and that's what we're going to get. It's not about what sucks and what team goes here and there. It's about team chemistry. And you know what? He said it. He said, we're there. We're going to win. I'm not promising tomorrow, but he goes, we expect us to be on top within the next couple of years. Springer is one of them, and I think Springer is going to end up coming.
And Real Muto, definitely.
And Muto is going to come.
And
I'm happy. I am very happy about it. And as a person that, my teams are not doing well in the last couple of years, I can finally talk good that I know the future is bright. I'm not saying we're going to win next year. I'm not saying we're going to take the division. I just know we are going to be competitive, and we have a chance now to say, you know what, when it comes to October, we may be in it now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Phillies. The Phillies spent, and they didn't win. It's not just about spending. And JP, you could talk about this because your Yankees do it. One thing that he's going to do, one thing that Cohen's going to do is he's going to put money everywhere. He's going to put money into the scouting. He's going to put money into the front office. He's going to put money everywhere into the free agents as far as international free agents. I know there's a cap there, but you could, the Yankees, you go down to Dominican Republic, the Yankees have like an entire league down there where they're developing players constantly. That's what the Mets need to do. They need to do things like that, build up the entire system because it was bargain basement for the Wilpons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is with the Mets is that it's like when you look at the Wilpons, like you look at the juxtaposition, it's like comedy. Like what you went from is like going from like the Three Stooges running the show,
right,
to like getting like the guys from The Godfather running it. Now you got The Godfather running the show here, and he's not going to take any BS that the Three Stooges originally in charge would have taken. And that's the thing with the Mets. I think they're about to go to another level over time. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think the Mets with Cohen, I think you got to do is you go get that Cy Young Award winner in Bauer, and you sign him to give him a blank check and said whatever you want you can get. And I wouldn't go after Lindor. I would go after maybe 1 or 2 pieces this year. I wouldn't do anything crazy. I wouldn't go after Springer. I wouldn't go after Lindor. I'd go after Bauer and then 2 smart pieces, like maybe a Real Muto. Something where you're not going to be where you're spending money, but you don't want to do what the Miami Marlins did. Remember what the Miami Marlins did when they opened up that ballpark? They spent all that money and it was and they had no results, and they ended up imploding the next year.
That's a lot different. First of all, they had great teams there. They had Stanton, they had Ozuna, and they had.
I'm talking that team when they spent all that money.
That's
and you got Reyes, Bell, and
you can't
and Dickey.
Look at what the Phillies did the past 2 years. They spent like crazy. They didn't win. That's not the way you win. You got to spend smart. I agree. Yeah. I would definitely go after Lindor.
I wouldn't. I would go get Real Muto. Go get Bauer.
I would do
and
that.
You know what you do? You don't get Lindor. I'd rather pay somebody else. Like I'd rather pay a little bit less to someone who can get you without giving up all the prospects you're going to have
I
to
was
give up to get.
wondering when you said the Wilpons were the Three Stooges. There was only two of them. You're the third right now because that's the Wilpons talking. You were
No,
talking.
but I'm saying you go get Real Muto. You go get Bauer, but
Hold
you
on.
keep the farm system.
Why are you going? Well, I agree with that, but if you could turn around, you have Rosario. If you could trade Rosario and then a prospect for him, or Jimenez that came up this year, and a prospect, J.D. Davis.
It's funny.
Davis and Jimenez for Lindor.
I wouldn't do a trade like that now. Here's why. I would want to see how far along you are with Bauer. Give Rosario one more year to really
But hold on,
show himself.
Lindor's gone by then.
I wouldn't go after Lindor. Who says Lindor's the guy?
One of the best hitting middle infielders in baseball is gone by then.
But who says there's going to be somebody else available that you could get that maybe cost you a little bit less? And who knows if Rosario is? Well, you'll know next year what Rosario is going to be for certain. And if you really feel like you know what, he's not the guy we thought. Like maybe he doesn't show anything. Then next year you make a move and you sign someone in free agency. If I'm the Mets, I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to deplete.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl, because I completely.
I can't.
This is
already
what
depleted.
what we're talking about right now is that mentality has to be gone. Not
But
like
you got to be smart.
all right.
What was
Yeah, no, absolutely. But smart is going after the best middle infielder out there.
Do I need to remind them what happened? Do I need to remind you what happened when you traded your outfielder, your top outfielder prospect?
So never do it again.
I wouldn't do it right now. I would wait another year
for
before
Robert,
you do it.
Well, why are you waiting? Why
Because
are you waiting?
Here's why. There's a reason why. I want to see how I look with Bauer and Real Muto. So then next year, when I know where I'm going to be, when I need to take that push, you get the piece you need when you go for the push. You wait a year. It's being smart. You get the two pieces
But
now.
he's not there in a
And you
year.
get to the final. And who knows? If next year.
He's not there in a year.
But if who knows next year.
Stop, who knows?
I'm not talking
I know he's not
I'm
gonna
not
be
talking
there.
Lindor here. I'm talking in general. I'm not talking Lindor. Who knows? Maybe what's his name? The rookie you brought up this year turns out to be a
That's
great
the guy you
second
trade
baseman.
for. That's the guy
what
you
you
trade
trade.
for.
You get rid of him.
Well, go
Maybe
ahead.
the rookie turns out to be a great player.
Hey,
And
I'm going down a rabbit hole. Let other
Here-
people talk. Let's keep going with this.
You get the
Let's go.
greatest infield.
I get what you're saying.
You get the greatest infield that there is in Lindor. You trade our young talent. All right, we don't need him right now. Lindor already proved himself. He proved himself. He's in. You don't have to go crazy and throw money out at everybody there isn't out there. You get one or two players like Springer that is clutch. You don't need to put him at number 4. You put him at number 7. He's a clutch. He's been proven for years now. He's clutch for Houston. He wants out, and you know where he wants to go. And you know what? And that's all you do. You don't go crazy and say, let's hold off for next year or the year off. You fill in a couple pieces that we need. And if you could grab the best infielder in the league, grab him. Let's see what happens.
One thing I'll say with JP, the only thing that you can bring up, and this is ridiculous because it's not real, but we should be a little weary of middle infielders coming from the Indians to the Mets. After Carlos Baerga, after Alomar, we should be a little
I'm not
weary.
even talking like that. Here's what I'm talking like.
Good.
It's very simply this. If you're the Mets, you get Springer. I would want to give the rookie you gave a shot because for all you know, it could turn like another Kalinick situation where Lindor gets hurt, he's not the same player, and then you give up. Then the Indians got the next rookie for the next 15 years. It's their star. Like I wouldn't want to. Like if I'm the Mets, give this kid another year. Don't get Lindor.
You're comparing a 30-year-old in his prime to a 40-year-old out of his prime. That's what you're comparing. Cano and Lindor. You traded for Cano. That was ridiculous. It's not the same thing.
I'm saying it. It's like you don't know what you're going to wind up next.
So then why are you trading for Bauer?
Next year?
Why are you signing Bauer?
Why am I signing Bauer?
I don't know what I'm getting.
Here's the one thing why I'm saying you sign Bauer. He just won the Cy Young. He wants to come to New York.
I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to be good.
There's a difference. A Cy Young.
Why am I signing Realmuto? I don't know if he's going to be good.
You're not going to sign Bauer.
You can say that about everybody.
But I'm talking about it ain't costing you a prospect to give it up to get Realmuto or Bauer. It's going to cost you your farm system, which is already not a strong farm system. If you want to build a constant contender, you got to do what the Dodgers did. Build your farm system. Look, you know how the Dodgers won? They made moves, but they also built their farm system at the same time.
With them signing
Hold
Stroman,
on.
and it's DeGrom.
Alonso, Rosario, DeGrom, Conforto, Nimmo. Who am I
Who you
missing?
got coming up to play the infield?
Who am I missing? Oh, these guys are 20 years old. These guys are 20 years old. J.D. Davis. What's his name?
I understand that, but I would be weary
They are loaded with young
of going
talent.
after Lindor. I would be weary of going after Lindor. I would just be weary of that. I don't think that's a smart move. I think if you told me you're the Mets, you get Springer, you get Romuto, and you get Bauer, I'd be happy if I'm a Mets fan because I would be weary of going after Lindor.
I would love to get Lindor. I think Lindor is perfect.
That's being too greedy here. That's trying to do the Yankees.
Middle of the lineup. You put him in the middle of the lineup. You don't have to give up a lot. You give up the shortstop who was going to play. I think Jimenez is going to be good.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be Lindor.
And at the same time,
And here's
gotta take a chance.
here's the thing too. Here's what the difference between having a Steve Cohen as an owner or a Will Potts as an owner. And you're kind of right, JP. In the past, it would be we trade for Lindor, and if it messes up, we're dead for 5 years. But if you have an owner who is able to replace mistakes, that doesn't happen. The Yankees will sign someone. The Yankees signed Ellsbury. He never plays. They just replace him.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm going to say.
Jock Peterson.
you're going to see that. You're going to see that with Cohen.
They get
He's
Mookie
gone.
Betts.
Yeah.
That's what the Mets have to do. They take a chance with Lindor. If Lindor gets hurt or he just is completely useless in 2 years, then they go out and they get another guy.
Like I said, I'm just weary of right now that you just got Cohen in there. I would just be weary if I'm the Mets of going after a Lindor. I think you go get.
You're not telling me why Lindor is.
Here's why. There is a reason why.
Why?
I just don't feel that the amount of prospects, because the Mets aren't going to be the only team bidding for him. St. Louis may go hard for him.
Agreed.
The Yankees could go hard for him.
Agreed.
Like, I wouldn't want to get into a bidding war over a player that I feel like you could go sign Didi Gregorius, in my opinion, who might be a darn good plug. That's what I'm saying. There are better options available, in my opinion, for the amount you're going to have to give up.
Better option.
The cost-benefit analysis, I would be going after Gregorius instead of
But
Lindor.
we are not the bargain basement anymore.
I'm not talking bargain basement. I'm talking don't give up your farm system.
You're not giving up farms. If you give up J.D. Davis and Jimenez, that's not your farm system.
And that might not even get you to first base with Lindor. Who knows? And if the bidding war gets strong enough, you might have to give up more.
First of all, that'll be enough. The Yankees aren't giving more than that. No shot they give him more than that.
You sure?
Yeah.
You sure they or
The
even
Yankees
St.
are
Louis?
in the pit right now with a couple.
St.
of
Louis?
players. No
Yeah.
way.
St.
No.
Louis might not.
When have they done that?
They might. They might. St. Louis is. I think St. Louis. They're already talking about how it's St. Louis who wants to do it, and there's even a wild card. There's another wild card in
Let me
this.
ask you something. It's like you're just trying to take the opposite opinion. Why are you saying how much these teams want to do this and how?
But if I'm the Mets, I wouldn't want to be involved in a bidding war.
Well, why
I
would
wouldn't
you?
want to be involved in a bidding war
Why would you do that if you're St. Louis?
because you could sign Gregorius and not give up your prospects.
Why would you do it if you're St. Louis? Why would you?
Why are you doing it if you're St. Louis? It's very simple. Right now, if you're St. Louis, Lindor would be a great piece to get, and you have the prospects. You could give up a player like that and sign maybe a Real Muto, maybe sign a Springer and add to that team, and all of a sudden, maybe you're right in there in the NL Central. It's a difference of St. Louis. Remember, they just
say what I said the Mets are going to do that St. Louis could do.
but
You
St.
just
Louis is in
said-
a different position. They can win. They honestly can win now.
Why can't the Mets win that?
Why can't I don't think if you're the Mets, I think you need to keep the prospects. So, for example, you need to get that last piece to
Best
get you
pitching
up a little
staff
bit
in
up.
baseball.
When you could sign Gregorius and get Gregorius for a bargain compared to Lindor, and
think
sign
it's
Springer,
It's not about
Bauer, and
Gregorius.
Realmuto.
They
Right
don't
there,
need
that's 4 great players for you. That's 4 All-Stars for
They
you.
don't need Gregorius. Who are the 4 All-Stars?
If you sign Gregorius, that's 4 All-Stars for you. You could sign 4 potential All-Stars in a given year. If you sign Springer, Gregorius, and Bauer on top of Realmuto, if you sign those 4, it didn't cost you a single prospect. And all 4 of them could end up being All-Stars.
Which a lot more money.
Still, it's worth it. You got the money. I would rather spend the money than give up the prospects.
Bauer won't come to the Mets. That won't.
I think he will.
Sure.
I think he will.
I think he will
He'll go to
too.
the Yankees. I don't think he's going to go to the Mets.
I think
he would.
right now. All right, JP, we have to be able to talk. We have to be able to talk. I think that Bauer, now that the Steve Cohen took over the Mets, I think you're going to see completely different attitude from these free agents. Completely different attitude from these free agents.
No, I agree.
And they'll definitely come here.
I agree, but DeGrom, you got your pitching staff. Why are you going to bring on,
You don't have a pitching staff, Carl. You have Stroman and DeGrom. It's
DeGrom and Thor.
That's the funniest thing all day.
It's DeGrom and Stroman. That's it. That's it.
Syndergaard that will be back within.
Okay, Syndergaard. See what happens.
And there's other pitchers that wouldn't mind going at number 3 or number 4 that the Mets could pay off a lot of money. There's a
Bauer, you could pay a lot of money to too.
There's a lot of free agents, and
the only thing I don't like about Bauer is the same thing I don't like about Stroman is their mouth. I just don't like his mouth. And Stroman's the same way. They will complain and they will go on Twitter. I don't like that, but he's a great pitcher.
I like Bauer all year, and I stuck by him. I thought he would do good, and he did. He was Cy Young. Bauer's going to go to a big team. Bauer's going to be one of the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers.
Well, why isn't this a big team? Why isn't this a big team?
I'm going to agree with
But
Mike
he wants to win. He wants to win now. Dodgers are
Hold on. The Red Sox?
Red Sox is the money. That's what the Red Sox is.
So is the Mets. He has already said, his agent said he wants New York. His agent said he wants his brand in New York. He wants to build his brand in New York. I think that the Mets are absolutely the favorites to do this. Absolutely.
I agree with Mike.
No, I agree, but I don't think Bauer.
I think Bauer. I think Real Muto. Maybe Springer. I think all of them could come. Listen, it's like 2 years ago with the Phillies. When the Phillies decided to spend the money, they got everybody. They got Real Muto. They got McCutchen. They got Harper. They got Gregorius. They got everyone that they wanted. If you are looking to spend the money, they'll come.
You don't think Bauer and that team around him that he's on, you don't think they're ready to win?
Where, Cincy?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the pocketbook to keep him.
He don't want to stay in Cincinnati. He wants to be in a big market. Well, listen, it's always a possibility. The team you were just with, but he was only with the team for 1 year.
1 year.
It's not like it's not like he was still in Cleveland and, he's got an attachment. Maybe he wants to stay in Ohio, but from all indications, he wants to get out. I would love DeGrom, Bauer, Stroman at the top of the line. They need relief pitching. That's what they need. They need to go out and get, like the Yankees did. They need to sign closers to be setup guys, like the Yankees. That's what they need to do.
Yes.
All right. Enough of that. That's our baseball talk. Good talk. Can't wait till they start spending money. When's free agency officially begin? Next week?
Next week.
Because now is all the qualifying offers. So next week.
Hey, I'm not sure if it's baseball first and then basketball or basketball and baseball.
Basketball's going to be trades open up.
Yeah, that's all messed up because of the season. The baseball ended on time. So, I don't know.
The NBA is doing trades open up on Monday, draft Wednesday, Friday free agency.
Then the following week will be baseball.
That's what I find crazy is that the NBA is going to have a whole offseason, and it's funny. Everybody is talking that there might be 10 trades done on Monday morning. Like
that
by 12:01 Monday, there could be 10 trades done.
That whole system's
well, think about it, though. Their season starts in a month.
No.
Yeah, and think about how many rumors that come out today.
No, I thought it was December 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
December 22nd is the start. That's a month and a week.
It's stupid, right?
No, it's just that's how it's got to be. I was on the phone the other day with the Islanders. I'm buying season tickets, and they're talking about when the arena opens. It opens a year from right now. It's going to open. There's still a season to play in between that.
I know.
So I don't know how they're going to do it. They're going to do
I know we don't really want to talk about basketball or anything like that, and I know, but New York's starting to heat up a lot of questions over in the Knicks too. So maybe it's New York year. Maybe next year you could get what you want with the Jets, but you know what? It's starting to heat up.
You know what's funny with New York?
That team has lost so much money. I can't see them spending.
You know what's funny with New York?
What's that?
On top of the Knicks, I think the Knicks and the Jets are going to be very attractive in 3 years from now. They'll be very attractive places to play in 3 years. I think right now they're going to be the garbage pool. But I think your fortunes are going to change in New York. And it's funny, in basketball, remember, the Knicks have 2 first-round picks, and they try to get a third because they may deal 6. They may deal 8.
In basketball, anything past like 6 or 7 is a crapshoot.
This year it's gonna be a crapshoot up to 20 because no combine.
Yeah.
Really.
No, I mean that's just like you get some talent later, but it's mostly the top.
Like
5.
I'm looking at ESPN right now.
I don't want to get into basketball, but let's just you said the Jets, so let's move over to football.
All right.
Move over to the NFL, and both of you look at me, both right now.
It's very hard.
Knock it off. Knock it off. And my daughter, if she's watching right now, knock it off. I don't want to hear it again. If it's a close game or the Jets are winning at halftime, congratulations. You're going to win this game. You're so good. Carl tagged me, congratulations. You're getting your first win. I'm like, are you kidding?
Did you see the meme I sent you?
Halftime. Yeah, it's halftime.
Did you see the meme though?
Yes, I saw it with Belichick. It's everywhere. It's halftime. This is the worst Jets team and coaching staff I've ever seen. I'm 47 years old. The Jets have sucked forever, and this is the worst season they've ever had. They are not going to win a game. They're incapable of winning a game. They looked as good as they could ever look the other night, and the Patriots looked terrible, and they still blew the game. I mean, when Flacco gets the ball, with, what was it, like 50 seconds left in the first half, goes down the field and scores on 3 plays, that's when you texted me, oh, you're going to get your first win. It's like, this isn't real. This isn't real. They're going to turn.
What the fuck is wrong with the Jets?
Throws the interception, up 10 points. How about this? You're up 10 points. You stop the Patriots. They have to kick a field goal, and you throw 12 men on the field. I mean, you can't make it up. This team, it's awful. The Giants won, which is good. There's still one other team with 1 win, which is the Jaguars. People still think Jacksonville's going to get that number 1 pick. I don't see it. I watch Jacksonville play every week. I have DJ Shark in fantasy. I watch him play every week. That team's not as bad as the Jets. They're not. They are not as the Jets can't get arrested. The Jacksonville are in games. They're blowing games at the end. They're in games. Jets are terrible. Terrible. They're going to get the number 1 pick. Trevor Lawrence is not going to stay in college. He's going to come out. Who even knows what college is going to look like next year? They don't even know. He's going to come out. He's going to be the number 1 pick. He's going to go to the Jets. They're going to have a new head coach. Who knows who it's going to be? Everyone has their favorites, but it's going to. I agree with you, JP. It's going to take 3 years to get respectable because this team is just in disarray.
I agree with you, JP.
And I'm going to say this, though.
Go ahead.
It's interesting with the Jets because it's like, when are they going to make the decision of we're going to try to just tank and just decide, we're going to play Flacco the rest of the year? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Are they going to decide, we're just going to play Flacco the rest of the year?
I think
if they're going to tank, they would put Sam in.
I think Darnold's hurt to the point where they might not want to risk it just in case. But listen, that's not the problem. First of all, they looked a lot better with all the receivers healthy. They did. That kid that they drafted a tackle, Becton, is a star.
Yes,
that kid is a star. He has gone against really good pass rushers and just handled them. Just completely handled them. And he's, gotten banged up this year, which is okay. He's, he got taken the other night. I'm putting him in the Hall of Fame. The next play, he's in the locker room.
That's funny.
But didn't I tell you that Beckham was going to be a stud? Like, that everybody was drooling over him, that there were, like, coaches that were drooling over him out of college?
He's a first-round pick. He did go third. He did go third or fourth out of all the tackles. So it's not like everyone was all over him. But
you know what's funny?
He's a first-round pick, yeah. The thing with him is they were worried about his weight, and they were worried about him being ready right away. And he has played better than any of those tackles.
He was great in college. He was the best in college.
Yeah, he looks great. But other than that, it doesn't matter who they put in at quarterback. They put what? Like, why would you put Flacco? I had
trying to lose.
I had a guy the other night. I forget who texted me that Flacco. They should keep Flacco and.
It wasn't me. You told me. You texted me.
Draft an offensive lineman like Flacco's good. No, this guy knows who he is. Flacco was on his team last year. That sucked. But
hey, if you got Frank Gore running the ball, you have problems. Dude,
Agreed.
the guy's 47 years old. The guy, I can't believe he's trying to break Barry Sanders' record.
Does he look like
1,000 yards away?
Does he look like he run like he's 47 years old? He would play on any team.
No. He's good, and I always liked Frank Gore, and he's a good sportsmanship, and he's the one that's trying to keep, I think, the team together a little bit because he's great. But when you have Frank Gore running the ball, there is problems with the Jets. You know, you got.
No, I wouldn't say that. I could put Frank Gore on any team. If Frank Gore was on, no, Frank Gore could run on any team. Is he young? But he could platoon on any team right now.
Your wide receiver core, what was the other night, is great, and if they can stay around,
not great, but they're at least better than what we've seen.
I think they're great, and I supported both of those main wide receivers.
You were big on.
I like him as a slot.
Well,
but you have a good team. It's the coaching.
I don't think so.
It's the coaching.
Well, yeah.
It's coaching. That's it.
Well, this was
not bad.
People don't realize this was the first week Adam Gase gave up the play calling, and all of a sudden they scored.
Yeah.
I don't know where they scored. They started doing motion. They started doing fakes. They started looking like a real offense.
Who's calling the plays?
Dobble, whatever his name is. Dobble.
Yeah, keep him.
If he keeps it up.
He's not good. He's just better than Gase. They're both gone. The Jets did announce that Perine is going to get a lot more work now from here on out because they want to see what they have in him, which is smart. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Not talking quarterback, a running back. Yeah, you might as well play the kid and see what he's got if you have to go out and get a free agent next year because there's a bunch out there. There'll be a bunch of big ones out there. Dalvin Cook. Yeah.
It depends on your coach. Depends on the coach.
I don't believe in running backs. I think they're a dime a dozen. I think anybody you could put it back there within reason and he'd do good. But, Jets suck. Giants won, which puts them ahead. Washington's got 2 wins. It's only Jacksonville, and I don't see it. I don't see the Jets winning another game, though, unless they beat the Patriots the last game of the season. That's the only one. If
I may interject here, because this is what I'm going to say about the Jets and the Giants. I think it's very funny that people were – can you talk about a tale of two teams? I think it's very funny that Giant fans are panicking about Daniel Jones, when I'm like, you know what? You might as well use that pick on that lineman from Oregon. After watching it, and I'll tell you, after the other night watching the guy who's everyone's saying is going to be the 3rd QB off the board, the kid from BYU. Right. I watched that kid the other night, and I will tell you, if I'm the Giants, and that might be the guy that is up on the board, I'm keeping Daniel Jones, and I'm drafting that lineman from Oregon because you look at the Giants right now, I think they're in a different situation than many people think. I think the Giants are a team that's going to win more than 2 games. I think they're probably going to end up being a 5-6 win team because to me they look like they're going to get hot.
In that division, they could, yeah.
Well, I look at the Giants and I think everyone needs to slow down and be like.
I wouldn't give up on Daniel Jones yet. No,
there are people
unless you get the number 1 pick.
Because I was listening to FAN.
If they get the number 1 pick,
of course.
But Jets too, though. If Jets don't get the number 1 pick, I wouldn't draft a quarterback. I would keep Sam and see how it goes.
And it's funny. I was listening to FAN, and they were talking about the other day. Like I was laughing my butt off because I was like, "Really? You're talking about are you done with Daniel Jones?" I feel like calling in and saying whoever's calling in and saying they're done with him is a moron. I almost went on the air and did that.
You got to, JP. You had those same morons for 15 years saying dump Eli. They're spoiled. It's like Yankee fans and Ranger fans. Spoiled.
They are spoiled.
Now, here's what I'll say about the Giants, which is crazy. They're one of these teams that's like a complete anomaly because if you look, the Jets and the Giants have had like the same amount of winning years. It's just the winning years for the Jets is AFC Championship. The winning years for the Giants is Super Bowl. They don't win often. They don't have winning seasons often. They have a lot more, and the Broncos are the same way. They have a lot more of these seasons than they do really good seasons. It's just when the Broncos are good, they go to the Super Bowl and win it. When the Giants are good, they win the Super Bowl. When the Jets are good, they go to the playoffs.
That's about right.
Yeah, I'll agree on that.
You have teams like Pittsburgh, like Baltimore. Every year they're good. Every year. That's not what the Giants are, but they have as many wins. So the Giant fans have this feeling like they're above, like they're the Yankees, like they're one of the winning teams. They're not. They've gone on 4 runs, but they're not. In the 80s, they were the best. But recently, they've gone on runs. They're not one of the best teams in the NFL.
Back to what JP was saying about with Jones and everything. You know, you have to look at it like this. There is some good quarterbacks coming out of the draft in the top 4, 5. There's some decent quarterbacks. Daniel Jones is good. Daniel Jones only beat the Redskins. He hasn't beaten nobody else.
No, hold on. But he played well enough to beat the Philly. He played well enough to beat Dallas, which they're not great teams. I know. But he played
great against Chicago.
He played great against Chicago. Not played great, but kept them in the game against Chicago. He has they have
had
not
good games. Sam had good games.
He has
a lot of quarterbacks
Jones has been bad. All in all, Jones has been bad this year. I'm just saying you can't judge him just on this year and get rid of him.
Yeah, but if the Giants got a pick and you know they got the coach here, he walked into this with Jones, this coach. If they got a pick and he likes the quarterback, they're going to go with what he wants with the quarterback.
I mean,
no, the GM's still there.
Yeah, Jones is not the answer. I mean, everybody knows Jones is not the
answer. Who says that though? The coach hasn't said that. Jones.
No, the coach is not going to say anything.
Well, how about this? How about you get rid of your offensive coordinator who sucks, who has sucked everywhere? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe Garrett is the problem.
I agree because there's a couple offensive coaches out there that should be fired already. And I agree with that. But, I mean, I'm saying I don't care what people think of Jones, and I don't care what people think of any of the quarterbacks. If you're in a top 3 pick and there's a quarterback sitting there and a good quarterback, you're going to pass on him. If you pass on him, that's it. Your future is Jones.
I don't think – no, that's ridiculous. You could go next year, and you could go – this team next year could win 3 games too, and then you just start over. That's if you get the number 1 pick, yes. Number 1 pick, I agree. But look what they did to you. How about this? They drafted Saquon Barkley with the number 2 pick, and everyone said, you'll never get another chance at a quarterback. You passed on Darnold. You passed on Lamar Jackson. You passed on Josh Allen. What happens? Next year, they get Jones. So you can't say that the quarterback's not going to be there. It's either Jones is going to play really well, and you're not going to have to worry about the quarterback, or he's going to suck, and you're going to have a high pick, and you can take the quarterback again. Now, the level, who knows? Quarterbacks are a crapshoot anyway, especially in the draft. But if they get the number 1 pick, you got to take Lawrence. Anyone else, I wouldn't dump my quarterback for anyone else in the draft, including Fields. And Fields looks really good. Looks like he's going to be great. But I would not drop Jones or Darnold for him.
And I'll be really honest. Watching the kid from BYU, everyone's saying he's going to be the 3rd quarterback. You know who he reminded me of? First couple passes? Trubisky. He looked like another Trubisky. To me, I'm like,
no.
Haven't I seen this before?
I don't
quarterback in college history.
Oh, I saw this kid. He has a cannon of an arm, but overthrows.
That's not Trubisky.
Like he's the opposite. Like Trubisky at UNC was like that a little bit.
No, Trubisky's a scramble quarterback, but I don't want to get into that. Go ahead.
But all I'm going to say is, if I'm the Jets, the Jets are going to get Lawrence. But if I'm the Giants, you're taking that lineman. That kid, I already said to myself, you're taking that lineman from Oregon because
what position does he play though?
The offensive tackle.
They just did that. They just took a tackle.
Hernandez, and you give him to put on the other side.
Not Hernandez. They just took Thomas this year, right? Is that
him on the other side too?
They just drafted with the number 5 pick.
Yeah,
you don't draft a right tackle that high. And listen, if you can, but I would look at another position. If you have, you have the line, I would look in free agency for that. But I agree with you. Build up the line in the draft. Maybe not the number 3 pick. Maybe their defense needs help. So maybe there's a defense player there. But that said, NFL made an announcement that if any significant amount of games are lost, they're going to expand the playoffs. They're talking about 8 teams right now or 16 teams.
Crazy.
Yeah, baseball did it.
Yeah.
Baseball did it. And, but every other sport did it. Every other sport did it. So, and
talking about
it's been done before, though, in the NFL. 1982, they had 16 teams make the playoffs. 16 teams made the playoffs in 1982 because they had the strike shortened season. So it's been done before. I don't have a problem with it. It'll be interesting, though. You know, you have some of these teams. Look at what's happened this year alone. Like how many just complete upsets you've had.
Right.
Imagine that the first round of the play. You know, imagine San Diego going against KC again and beating them. You know, them sneaking in as a number 8 seed, winning a couple more games. You know, they'd have to win like 5 more games. You know what I mean? Like a team like that sneaking in and turning around and beating a number 1 seed, a number 2 seed. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would. It would be. I don't agree with it. I mean, I can't even see, and I'm going to agree with you, Tess. I can't even see them canceling games. They're doing the best with this COVID than any. I mean, I know baseball had a little problem, and they did what they had to do, and basketball was already in the bubble. But with the COVID stuff, they're just moving on. Look at San Fran. San Fran had.
I love what they did last week. Not just San Fran. I was trying to do a DraftKings lineup for that game.
Yeah.
Nobody was playing.
Right.
Nobody on the Packers was playing, and nobody on San Francisco was playing. And the NFL was just like, we don't care. Put whoever you have out there.
And they discovered this wide receiver in James and San Fran. It looked pretty good and quick. But San Fran's doing pretty good with the COVID. Everybody that's getting COVID in NFL is doing great. They're just moving on.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're not going to cancel games. You're right, Mike. I always said, you know what? The years, as I look at it, they're just throwing whoever's out is out.
That's it.
I mean, Big Ben has to sit out 5 games. He said he's playing Saturday. He's going to practice Saturday, and he's playing Sunday. He didn't test positive. He just was near it. So he said, heck with it. I was near it. I didn't test positive. I'm playing. I'll be back on the field Saturday. See you guys later.
The way I feel, if you have no symptoms, then you have no symptoms. I mean,
right.
You know, and how many – here's what's interesting, too, and this is going to get into the grand scheme of things, but they talk about how many cases, and we're going into lockdowns because of all these positive cases. The problem is with all these positive cases is how many of them are false positives. If I go right now to a doctor and get tested and I come back positive, I'm not going back for a second test. Now, you go by the NFL and you go by all the college too. How many of these players have tested positive, gone back the next day, and they're not positive?
Many.
Many. A lot of them.
Matt Stafford.
A lot of them.
Stafford.
The whole which team had it with the whole Nick Saban had it. So maybe a lot of these positive tests are coming back and they're not retesting them and they're not really positive. I'm not saying there's not a lot of cases out there. Of course there is.
Yeah.
But it might be affecting the numbers that we're not double checking them because in the times when we do double check them, there's a lot of false positives. A lot.
Yeah. Matt Stafford last week.
Matt Stafford twice.
Yeah.
Was false
last
positive.
Week he tested positive. 3 days later he took a test. He was negative. Said I'm playing Sunday.
That was the first week of the season. The same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
With him.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And all these players that test positive the day after and everything like that, and they're around other people and they test negative, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. NFL's doing a good job. They set it up good. They're not going to cancel no games. It got to be a massive outbreak for them to cancel games.
I think it's got to be illnesses.
Illnesses, massive outbreak, and I think they're saying there's more fans coming in now. They're going to be bringing in more fans to some games. Dallas had theirs, and a couple other stadiums had theirs. Meadowlands won't have.
That was interesting. Yeah, Cuomo's not putting Murphy's not putting anyone in the stands, but it was interesting this week. Tampa Bay played it on the road in front of fans for the first time, and they got walloped this week. Walloped. Yeah. Does that change your mind about who is top in the NFC? Do we have to put the Saints up there? Saints are what, 7-2?
Yeah, and hold a tiebreaker over.
Can I make a little prediction?
Twice they beat them.
Can I make a little prediction here on who I think's going? Because I said I wanted to wait another week. I'm going to make a Super Bowl prediction right now. I want to wait another week. Like, here's what I'm going to say to it. I originally said the Rams, but I wanted after another week of looking at it.
Right.
I think the Rams will win I think the Rams will be in the NFC Championship game, but I do not think they win the NFC anymore.
Who's going to win?
I mean, I'm really, really confident now in saying this. I'm really liking New Orleans now. Not just after that game.
Yeah.
It's just because I think New Orleans, with everything they had at the beginning of the season, remember, going into the offseason with everything that happened, I think New Orleans, I think they figured everything out. They kind of got back on the right foot. And I think this is going to be Breeze's last year. I think Breeze is not admitting it publicly, but I think he's saying to himself, how many more years do I want to put myself through this garbage?
And he doesn't look good either. He does not look good.
I think it's going to be one of those win one for John moments when it's going to be like, we're going to win it for Payton type idea. We're going to win one for Breeze. And the Saints are going to let him win one more and ride into the sunset.
That doesn't work.
I think the Saints, he's saying to himself, I can win one more and done.
Saints have one reason they will not win. Sean Payton. Right. Sean Payton has proven time, and I know he's got the one ring. You know he does. But with that quarterback and that team, he should have been to 4 Super Bowls, not 1. He screws up the playoffs every year. They changed the rule for pass interference to be reviewed because he wouldn't run the ball inside the 10-yard line and run the clock down and kick the field goal. They would have had that game. But he's got to be smarter than everyone else. His play calling is just sometimes – the fact that he lets Taysom Hill have the ball so much, it's crazy. Just he screws up in the playoffs more than any other coach. I don't think this team's going. And Drew Brees, his completion percentage is like 75, like it always is. But it's dump off and dump off and dump off. He doesn't look like he has in his career, even the past couple of years. And to be honest, though, he hasn't had Michael Thomas till now. That's fair, but I still wouldn't put them as the best team in the NFC. I wouldn't.
I'm not saying they're the best team. I'm going to say I think at the end of the day, I'm not calling anybody the best team here. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I think they're going to end up coming out of the NFC. My gut's just telling me they'll at the end of the day win the NFC. But overall, I think the overall best team is not them. I think they're going to get a lot of stars to align, especially with that extra playoff game out.
They never do. They never do. The gods are always against them. They always get the
time they will.
They always get the bad break against them. Always. But Carl, who do you got as coming out of the NFC now?
First of all, this was the first game all year that the Saints defense actually showed up. Who knows exactly how they showed up and what happened, but it was against Brady.
Well, it's the second game because the first game against Brady too. He's got like 6 interceptions and 5 of them are against the Saints.
Against Saints, he didn't throw an interception since he played the Saints. Tom Brady up to that part.
He threw one.
Yeah. So I'm not too fond about Saints defense, and we're going to see this week. They'll probably take a shit, but you know what? It can't be the Saints, and I don't think it's Saints. Let Tom Brady get this together. Let Brown, let everybody do this together. Tom Brady will come up on top. I still going to stick by my unfortunate Arizona Cardinals that lost against Miami, and Miami's defense looking really good.
You know what's funny?
I'm going to stick by Arizona. Their offense is good.
You still got Arizona.
I'm sticking with Arizona.
Yeah, I like Tampa still because of the defense. Yeah, listen, division games are always tough. Always tough. We see that in every division. You have upsets. Look at the Jets almost beat the Patriots in division. That's ridiculous. But
we are skipping one team.
They seem to have Tampa's numbers, so I hope they don't meet in the playoffs. But Tampa's got that defense is just real good. Real good.
And we're skipping one team that don't need a defense, which they do have a good defense.
I don't see them at Seattle.
Packers.
Oh, the Packers, yeah.
Their offense, and they got the best, I don't care what anybody says, they got the best wide receiver in the league. Their offense is unstoppable at Rodgers. Rodgers is MVP candidate. And that whole team is great, and they don't need a defense because they're putting up 30 points a game, 40 points a game. The offense is just too good.
All right, let me ask you. We're deep enough in the season now. I'm going to ask you right now, is this team for real Super Bowl contender? You say yes or no. JP, you first. Buffalo.
They're fakes. They're frauds.
Carl.
They're real. They're for real.
Pittsburgh. JP.
I'm going to go with fraud. I think they're very lucky. I think they're a team that I think Dallas exposed them a little. That I think they are going to be due. I think they got to lose quickly because if they go later into the season without losing, I think somebody will ding them up and it might ruin their whole mojo late in the year. I think they've got to lose.
Carl.
They're a fraud. They beat Texans. They beat the whole NFC East. That's it.
They beat the Titans and they beat the Ravens.
They beat the NFC East. Period.
But they beat the Titans and they beat the Ravens.
Ravens,
beat What?
who they play? They played
Baltimore, right?
They played Texans, Cowboys, Philly, the Giants.
They didn't play. They didn't play Baltimore yet. Yeah,
They beat Baltimore.
Got 6 wins off of shit teams.
they beat Baltimore and they beat the Titans.
Okay. Titans, how they looking lately?
I mean, those are two of the best teams in the AFC. Okay. How about the Ravens? JP.
Fraud.
Exactly. Fraud. They
So you
can't
got-
beat the good teams.
You basically have everyone as a fraud in the NFC. So no one's AFC. Okay. Tennessee.
Fraud. I'm going to go with a fraud because
Oh.
I'm really not convinced.
No
Carl?
defense, and they're fraud. No defense. They're done.
Okay. KC.
Top.
Carl.
Top. They're the best team, I think, in the AFC.
AP.
period.
Legit. They're legit.
Yeah.
No defense though.
They're
No
Don't
defense.
need it.
they don't need it. They have they don't have the defense that needs to be. They're like Seattle. Both of them are going to be legit teams that at the end of the day are going to get there just because their offense can put up 400 yards a game.
Yeah.
Or if they have the quarterback position by itself.
Buffalo is for real. Their defense hasn't played well yet. I think they will, but they're for real. They every team has struggled. They've struggled. They're still 7-2. They're for real. Pittsburgh's defense is sick. I don't care what happened last week. That happens to every team. They're for real. Baltimore, the quarterback has not thrown like he has last year, but they can run the ball at everyone. They're for real. Tennessee, absolutely for real. And KC, yeah, all of those teams. Any one of those teams can win. Let's go to the NFC. I'm not even going to touch the East. I'm not even going to touch the East. 'Cause that's a fake.
They're all up for per se football teams.
Carl, Green Bay. For real?
They're one of the best teams in the NFC. You got Aaron Rodgers, which we always doubted, the MVP thing, and we got the best wide receiver. And that coach knows what to do with Aaron Rodgers. You can't say nothing bad against him.
JP?
They're the best team in the NFC. In my opinion, they're not going to win it, but they're the best overall team right now. For some reason, I have no confidence in them winning in November. After November and December. I have no confidence after December for them.
Teams in the NFC that are good. Okay, we talked about these two teams, so let's see. Saints, Carl.
They're 50-50. They're not fraud, but they're not for real. I think Drew Brees had it with his arm, like you said, at dump passes. When they meet that team, Tampa Bay's defense, eventually you got some defensive teams out there. It's very hard, but they're a good team. They're just not going to make it to the top.
Okay, JP?
They're for real. My opinion, they're for real. They got the horse back on the road.
All right. I don't know what that means. Tampa Bay, Carl.
Tom Brady and that offense, it's do or die. They're for real. And that defense.
Defense.
When they click, they're clicking. Watch what they do to Carolina this
You
week.
got to remember, Brady in the playoffs is Brady.
Oh yeah, watch what they do. Brady got embarrassed. Saints did it. Watch what he does to Carolina this week.
JP?
Fraud.
Seattle, Carl.
Offense is great. It's just I'm worried about that defense. I'm gonna say fraud.
They're for real. They're
Maybe.
for real.
Buffalo showed them.
The one reason why they're for real is that Russell Wilson's arguably the best quarterback. He's like Pat Mahomes in the NFC right now. He's literally the only other player than Pat Mahomes that I think can carry a team by himself to it, and that's the reason why I think he can carry Seattle there. I don't think it's going to be easy, nor do I think he will. I think Seattle will lose in the second round of the playoffs.
Arizona, Carl.
For real. I mean, you're comparing one side. You're comparing Wilson and what he's carrying. That Murray's got 100 yards rushing every last couple of games. He's carrying his team.
I was
But
gonna say
he can just do so much. It's
But-
his defense that has to do it.
Wilson has carried his team. I got to see Murray do it for more than just a couple games. You know, they are only 5-3, but go ahead, JP.
Jury's out.
All right. I think the Packers are for real, absolutely. Running game and Rodgers. They just need everyone healthy. The Saints, they're for real. But like I said, they blow in the playoffs every year. Tom Brady, absolutely for real. Seattle's defense is just rough. I can't see Seattle making it. And Arizona has a chance to not be 500, I think they have a chance to not be 500. I think they're just a year or two away. They're schizophrenic right now. They're just not taking over games. You have a lot of teams like that where they'll just they'll blow out the best team in the league and then they'll lose to the worst team in the league until they figure it out and then they become, Seattle was like that for years. There's a lot of teams that have to get to that level. There's still a really young team, a really young coach. I think next year they're a Super Bowl contender, from day one. But this year, I think they're going to be like a 9-17.
I disagree.
But
no way.
All right. You know what time it is, guys. If you don't know what time it is, you're about to find out what time it is. Take it over, JP.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk college basketball because everyone's talking with the NBA draft next week. I'm going to mention that for 1 minute. And here we go. With the NBA draft, and the one thing I want to mention is with everybody talking about the NBA with this short and off season, it's amazing how many trade rumors have come out today. And I just find it fascinating that they're talking Chris Paul to the Suns, which I think would be a great move. He's the kingmaker in the NBA, in my opinion. Chris Paul will decide who wins the NBA title. If he goes to the Lakers, I think the Lakers repeat. If he goes to Phoenix, I think the Lakers are not going to be winning.
Now, I'm not a big NBA guy. Not a huge NBA guy. Carl, how many rings does Chris Paul have?
Hard to think.
Just guess.
He's got none.
Zero?
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, and he's gone to teams where this was supposed to happen.
I
right?
think
he was the missing piece, and it was going to be. Go ahead.
I think if he goes to the Lakers, they're a shoo-in to win the whole thing again.
I think if you go to the Lakers, they're a shoo-in to go to.
Yeah.
I'm not like. Here's the thing: I'm not convinced about. And this is I'm going to get off this in like
I
a
didn't
second.
get you sidetracked. I don't want to do that. Go
This
ahead.
is a very quick thing.
Yeah, go
The
ahead.
one thing I'm not convinced about with the Lakers is this. I think that it's very hard for them to win with the way they built that team. It's very hard to repeat, especially with the possibility you're going to lose Rondo, with all the pieces you're going to lose possibly. You're going to have to pay Kuzma. You're going to have a very hard time keeping some of those mid-level guys like mid-level price guys like the Dwight Howard, who are getting on a dime. It's going to be very hard to keep all of them. So a guy like Paul is going to be a huge injection if you can get him. But now I want to move to college basketball. And there was a big news today. Did you hear about it? Wichita State finally made this decision after a month.
They fire him?
They're moving off him. They're moving. He'll be gone by the end of the week.
Wow.
And there's rumors already
That is huge.
that's like 1 week before the season. I literally was on the phone with someone today, and he said to me, "Why do you do this now?" He said, "Well, you're not going to get a guy in there who, in their right mind, who wants to take this job with a week before the season. Nobody's going to want to take a job where it's not a shoo-in to make the tournament. They're not a shoo-in this year. Like they're going to have to earn it."
But they have their prospects. They have their recruits that they brought in, and they if they did it earlier, you get decommits. So they got the recruits in. They get them in for 1 year.
But you could have done that 3 weeks ago.
You're not going to bring in a big coach because that's a mistake because you want a guy who has worked with these recruits.
Exactly.
The assistant, you keep the assistant there for this season, see what he gets out of the recruits, and then you bring in a guy in next year.
Exactly. And this is why I'm bringing this up is because there's already a name attached to this job.
For next year, not this year.
Former Ohio State coach, yes. And there's actually some reports that say they're going to try to get him if the price is right to get him to come for this year.
Mistake.
Which
Okay.
I agree is a terrible idea. That's why I'm bringing this up. And I got to say this. Where you look at the American Athletic, and this is why I'm bringing this up, is that in college basketball this year, there's been a lot of not major coaching changes. Like probably the biggest change was probably the biggest move was Wake Forest. Bringing in the guy from East Tennessee was arguably the biggest high profile move other than Pitino.
Yeah,
And
because COVID. You had COVID that shut down all of
that's why I'm saying this. Exactly. That's why I'm bringing this up. I'm not done yet with the point here. Because this is why I'm saying you make a move like this now. I think it's very interesting to look at how it's going to affect these programs. And the one thing I want to bring up is a lot of these programs that with the season starting next week and a lot of these games being condensed now to having tournaments at one site. The one thing I'm going to look at here, and I'm going to bring up 3 sleepers teams. I'm going to explain why I think they have a legitimate chance.
Wait, are we off Wichita State already? Who's going to get the coaching job?
It's going to be the guy, former Ohio State coach. That's all I know. They're looking at a former Ohio State coach. I think it's Tim Majura.
Okay.
I forget the guy's name. I can look it up quick.
All right. I just got confused. That's all right. So
yeah, but the reason why I'm moving here
for the tournament.
Yeah, they're talking about, like, for example, these are 3 teams that I think are going to go to the tournament because I want to get this across because there's a lot of teams to talk about. 3 sleeper teams.
Okay.
One, I think, is right over here in Nassau County and Hofstra. Everyone's talking about how they got probably one of the best small school big men in the country. It's Georgia transfer in Isaac Conte, who was arguably a beast to them last year, to say the least.
Okay.
This guy was unbelievable at times for them. And you look at a great coaching staff right now. You heard about Joe. He's right now out. He's going to be out part of the year, I believe, with health issues. So they have a very good assistant taking over for the year. So it's going to be a very interesting situation of a senior team with some really good prospects and transfers they brought in to go out. And this is like the perfect model of how you become a great mid-major is you get this type of team they have. And they're looking right now at this. It's very simply a situation of Hofstra is can they do what they did last year? Because remember, Hofstra hadn't made the NCAA tournament since I was a baby. And now
Stevie Claxton.
Yes.
That's a handful of years.
Yes. When I was a baby was the last time they made it.
Wasn't Jay Wright the coach of Hofstra?
Yes, Jay Wright at the time. Yes,
Yeah.
current Villanova coach.
Yeah.
So here's why I'm mentioning Hofstra, and I'm making the case for them is this. They have the perfect, when you look at, there's the whole model you look at for what makes a team a great mid-major that can take the next step. Hofstra circles all the boxes except for one, which is experienced guards.
Wait, hold on. We're talking about Hofstra making the tournament or
being a sleeper team to be a Sweet 16 sleeper. They are a Sweet 16 sleeper because they hit all the boxes. When you look at teams like Loyola Chicago, they hit all those boxes. When like a Gonzaga before. Like I'm looking at this, like Gonzaga before they became Gonzaga.
They were always Gonzaga. John Stockton played Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like these teams that come out of the woodwork, like Loyola Chicago, like a
I
Siena.
think anybody could come out of the woodworks with this
Like
COVID season.
BCU, like those.
Exactly. Hofstra circles all those boxes.
Yeah.
Another team that I think circles a lot of those boxes is Grand Canyon. New coach Bryce Drew. New program, under 10 years old. Bryce Drew, former Baylor. I think he's a big-time coach.
Yeah.
He's coached some places.
Baylor.
I think Baylor.
Yeah. He's over in Grand Canyon.
Yeah, he got hired over there.
Oh, God.
And it's funny. They were going between him and Pitino. Him and Pitino were the 2 finalists. You're laughing. It was him and Rick Pitino.
Grand Canyon must be a spot.
It's funny because this is
Is it in Arizona?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
And what they're trying to be is they're trying to become like they have national ambitions. Like they think they have a dream of being in one of these, like Wichita State, being a basketball powerhouse, a mid-major powerhouse that can get blown up into a major conference.
Butler, Gonzaga.
Exactly.
That church team with the old
Wichita
lady.
State.
Yeah.
There are teams.
Old lady.
No, there are. Yeah, no, that's what he said. Chicago. No, there are teams that do that where they transition themselves into a major program in a mid-major conference. There are teams that do that. Whether Grand Canyon's going to do that, I don't know.
They look like it's funny. The reason why I bring this up is they have a really good point guard, and I look at the overall roster, and I'm like, it's pretty funny when I look at Grand Canyon. I'm like, everyone's saying this team isn't going to do a lot. But they got a lot of transfers coming in. Like when you look for what a team for a sleeper team, transfers, big major transfers. They got one of the strongest guys in basketball, from what I've heard. The 7-footer they got transferred in is 270.
I didn't even know there was a college called Grand Canyon.
Like you didn't even know. That tells you how little people know.
Honestly, I thought they were NAIA.
No, they're
I
D1 now.
know the coach. As soon as you mentioned the coach, I know where he came from. I didn't know that was a Grand Canyon.
JP knows everything about college sports.
Oh, and it's funny. The reason why I'm bringing them up is they're another team circles the boxes for a potential surprise team this year. They could definitely get to the round of 32. Like, don't get me wrong, they could definitely upset someone as like a 10 seed, as like a 14 seed if they get there. That would be what they were.
If they make it to the tournament, I'll buy you a sweatshirt, JP.
Well, you don't know who's in the conference. They could be playing.
It's the West Coast Conference. It's the WAC Conference, the Western Athletic Conference, which has a very good New Mexico State team. Who has a very good. They're gonna have to get through a very good, very good New Mexico State team. That's it. It's really them and New Mexico State this year, and a lot of people don't think they're gonna get past them, but I think they will. The next team?
No, New Mexico State is the Aztecs, right?
No, they're they're not the Aztecs. That's San Diego State.
I know. I remember seeing Mexico State. They're always in the tournament.
That's what the reason why.
Priscilla coached them, right?
Yeah,
is that New Mexico?
Let me read out their conference for you. So I pull it up here. Because this is a joke of a conference. Grand Canyon ranks second according to the Blue Ribbon. Then you have Texas Rio Grande Valley. Then they also have 2 teams that are not even qualifying for the tournament this year. 3 teams. They're not eligible because they're transitioning. Including Tarleton State is one of them.
Got them going to the championship?
No, I'm talking about these teams are not eligible.
Round of 32.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I wonder why they'll make it because those other teams are not eligible.
But here's the thing with Grand Canyon. Here's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Playing the School of the Blind. California School of the Blind.
The reason why I bring up Grand Canyon is this is a program that has injected, the school has injected a lot of money, big time money, to that basketball program because they want to win.
Okay.
And they've recruited very well. They got
good enough to beat a number 2 or 3 seed.
Let me tell you, they are a program that slides under the radar. They're one of these teams that can slide under the radar, especially this year with COVID. They're going to slide under the radar, and if they get to the tournament, they're not an easy out because they have good players on that program. So they circle a lot of the boxes for a team that can take the next step.
Who's number 3?
Robert Morris.
Morris.
We just moved to a new conference, the Horizon League. They just moved to the Horizon League.
CAA?
No, they left the NEC.
NEC? No, not NEC.
No, they were in the Northeast Conference.
NEC, right.
They were perennial powerhouse. Now they're going to the Horizon. And I really like them. I just, for some reason, like this program. Who's in the Horizon?
North.
Hold on, I'm going to pull up the Horizon for you. Because I like their chances. The Horizon used to be the home of Butler. Formerly Butler. There's been a lot of realignment. The Horizon League. This year will move to 12 members, has Wright State. Robert Morris is ranked 5th in the preseason, but I think that a lot of people are underestimating him.
You're ranked 5th in the Horizon Conference?
According to the Blue Ribbon, which is they're like the gold standard. But here's the thing. Nobody knows how good this program really is because the problem is that they played in a weak NEC. But they're a very, very competent program where they're always able to compete in the tournament. They're always up there. Every once in a while they can compete. They give somebody a game when they're in there. They would have been. They were the defending champs. And that's the thing I'm mentioning is I think a lot of people are underestimating their talent on the program and the coaching staff there. They're a very good program. That's why I'm saying everyone's underestimating them. They're a team that if they got out of the Horizon, which I think they definitely could, they could rise to the top of that, potentially to around the 32, maybe even spoiler Sweet 16 type team, because they could potentially be ranked in I call it the sweet spot range, which is at 11 to like 7 range, where if you do good enough, you can get the 7 spot. If they have a really good year,
7 seed in the tournament?
If they win the Horizon, if they go undefeated and win the Horizon, yes. It's very plausible. They win the Horizon and go undefeated. Horizon League's teams can get the higher seeds.
When it was Butler.
But I'm talking, it's not impossible that with top undefeated small schools, if they let's say have 2 or 3 losses, it's not impossible for them to get in that 7 to 11 range, especially with the COVID going on.
That's like a St. Mary's spot. That's like a established team.
Not really every year. It's kind of like it matters by the strength of your league, and the Horizon League's a tough league where traditionally those teams do knock off mid-majors or top mid-majors. They traditionally will knock off.
Disagree with that, but to get a 7 seed's usually a major team that went like 15 to 13. That's usually how you get
that's not how it is anymore. It's changing. It's starting to change because of analytics.
Remind me, who are the 3 we got?
Robert Morris. Grand Canyon and Hofstra.
Hofstra. Okay. What else?
And I'm going to put another sequel out here. This is a major program, a major conference program that I think everyone is overlooking.
St. John's?
Because I think this guy can coach. I mentioned him, Wake Forest. Steve Forbes can coach. And everyone is disputing that. Everyone's saying Wake Forest is going to be one of the worst teams in the Big East. They're going to be competitive. He's going to get wins over Virginia Techs of the world, the Pittsburgh.
You're not the ACC, right?
Yeah. The problem is,
Big East.
I said ACC.
You said Big East.
I don't care. I'm not wrong. But back to Wake Forest here. Here's the thing with Wake Forest. Everyone's going to be underestimating him this year, but they got a guy who can coach. This guy can coach, and the problem is in the ACC. If you don't realize this, the bar between the worst team and like a 10th ranked team is really this. It's very close.
No. The
10th
bar
ranked team in the conference.
the bar between the third ranked team and the bottom is that close. Duke.
This year, I'm going to say it's a little bit different because I'll say between the 10th and the 15th, but then you got Syracuse this year that's ranked towards the bottom, according to the Blue Ribbon. A lot of people are down on Syracuse. I'm not. That's why I'm saying I think what?
Virginia.
Virginia's the favorite.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm saying Wake Forest here is I think they're a team that could get some wins. I think Forbes is good. That coach is going to get maybe 3 or 4 wins in conference by himself, just because of the quality of coaching raise from Danny Manning to Forbes. Because Forbes is a legitimate coach. Like if this was a normal year, no COVID, East Tennessee State might have been a Sweet 16 team. And on top of that, he probably would have been the number 1 coach available in the country. He would have been probably coaching at some SEC school. And Wake Forest got a really, really good coach on a bargain. And that's what I'm saying.
Probably going to take him a few years, though, to build up, no?
I think this year, it'll take him a few years to build up, but I think at first,
You're talking about the SEC. Listen, there was a time when Wake Forest was at the top. When they had, remember Childress, they had
Duncan.
Chris
Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul, they were one of the top teams. It just hasn't happened lately. I can't see them jumping up above, UNC.
They're not jumping above UNC. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they could definitely compete with Miami. They could definitely compete with Pittsburgh.
Okay, so make the tournament, you're saying.
I'm making the tournament. That's the 10th ranked team in the ACC. I'm talking about Miami. According to the Blue Ribbons, they're the 10th ranked team.
You're not talking about Wake Forest winning the tournament, making the tournament, not winning the ACC.
I'm talking about they're possibly a tournament team. I'm agreeing.
Okay.
I think they're definitely a sleeper team to make the tournament this year. I think they're definitely a tournament team because
a lot of big underdogs in that tournament.
I like Wake Forest. I like their chances of making it just for 3 reasons. On top of the coaching, I think the talent there is very underrated because they have a lot of good prospects in there that haven't really been well coached. Danny Manning was not a great developer of talent, and that's the thing. He was not able to develop guys who I think are phenomenal players, who in high school are phenomenal guys who can compete with these high-level ACC commits, but they just haven't been able to pan out yet. I think now that they got a guy who actually built a program at East Tennessee, he built that thing from nothing. East Tennessee was like where? I think Wake Forest is about to take a jump in the first year where he's going to take them from what everyone thinks is going to be the basement to maybe the tournament.
What? And we're going to leave after this. But what town is East Tennessee State in? Is it
Johnson City?
It's not Knoxville, right?
Johnson City.
Tennessee. Johnson City. All right. Well, there you have it. All right. Awesome job, JP. Carl, awesome job.
Good job.
Yeah, psyched up for the Mets. We're not worried about politics.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Everybody can meet the Mets. Meet Steve at the game.
Thanks everyone for watching. Rick Souffle, thanks for posting your comment. Come on next week. Put something up there you want to talk about. We'll talk about it. So long, everybody. We'll see you next week.
So long,
Have a good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.